Judon's holdout. You said it, like he's out there on a day when it's not a padded practice, which is okay. But to me, this is by far the biggest test for Drake Maye as a head coach so far, because whatever he does with Matthew Judon is really going to determine, I think, setting the tone of how he interacts with the locker room, how the locker room feels about him and his entire coaching staff in terms of respect and leadership. And it's also, this is the only guy that you have on your team who isn't a special teamers or hasn't gotten recognition as an all-pro for special teams. He's the only all-pro that hasn't been a special teamer in that category.
The only real all-pro.
The only real football player.
Yes,
okay, we'll put it that way.
That's the right way to
put
say
it in Christian Fourier terms. Okay, a real football player. I'll use his words. And so, to me, this is the biggest problem. I understand the concern with Drake Maye's very slow start, and we'll get to that a little bit later. For me, I'm just practicing a little more patience with that. It's Matthew Judon's situation.
Okay, you can jump in on the phone, 617-779-7937. By the way, all of our football coverage today is presented by T-Mobile. You can switch to T-Mobile and get tons of benefits. Still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Mego votes for Matthew Judon, his holdout, which made some progress today, but is far from a done deal. We'll play you some Drake Maye coming up that puts a positive spin on it, shockingly. Arkan, how'd you vote? Are you concerned about Judon, the lack of Belichick, or Drake Maye's slow start?
I'm not really concerned about the other two at all. For me, it's all about Drake Maye. I'm not really concerned about Judon's holdout. The defense was fine without him last year. I think they'll be fine with him this year. I think they should trade him, even if it means getting a 5th or a 6th round pick. I just don't really see that being a huge concern, except maybe for the atmosphere and sort of the culture of the place, if that's something that matters to you. It doesn't matter that much to me right yet. And I think Matthew Judon is sort of superfluous. Like, I don't think you really need him. Not Belichick. I'm glad it's not Belichick. We'll see if Drake Maye's ways actually work or not. But Belichick not being there, I don't think is a concern at all. They were a 4-win team with Belichick last year. So they were okay with Judon. They were bad with Belichick. And I think that with Drake Maye, that's really what this entire season centers around. I mean, this whole thing is about Drake Maye to me. It wasn't the way I wanted to build this offense up. I thought you could build up the offense a little bit, sign a veteran, and then maybe get to a rookie quarterback later on when you've got something a little bit more build up for him. I also thought that Drake Maye was a guy that, had a down year and is very young and hasn't played a lot of football. And it seems like all of those things are sort of coming true here. He doesn't have a lot to work with. He doesn't seem like he's up to speed. You look at all the other rookie quarterbacks, and they all seem to be ahead of him, other than Michael Penix, who's supposed to be a backup anyway. And I think that by far is the most concerning thing.
Okay, so I want you to elaborate on that when we circle back to Drake Maye, because that, to me, is an interesting point. And, Mego, you did some numbers on Drake Maye today comparing to Josh Allen's camp, or not numbers, rather.
I went through the archives.
You went back on LexisNexis, and you looked up Bills practices when Josh Allen was a rookie. I was reading Phil Perry the other day. We can read some of this coming up. And I had just seen recently on social media, C.J. Stroud. People were not high on C.J. Stroud in camp last year. In fact, the Patriots played him in the first preseason game. Right about this time last year, he threw a pick on his first drive against the Pats. And he was outplayed by Davis Mills in the preseason game. He did start that preseason game, but there wasn't a lot of hype around him in camp. Josh Allen, there wasn't a lot of belief in him in camp in his rookie year, although he didn't start week 1 either. Or he didn't start week 1. I guess C.J. Stroud did. But he was playing week 1, relieving, I think, Nathan Peterman. And he was out there week 2. So it's not the end-all, be-all on the early reports in camp. But I do tend to buy into this time of year. I know not everybody does. But I believe in the training camp reports. I believe when things don't look right, there's a trickle-down effect. There is. The Matt Patricia and Joe Judge year is the best example of that. Things didn't look right. People reported it. Not everyone believed it. I did, because I put stock in this time of year. And you saw what happened with the offense. And so, to me, these early reports on Drake Maye, I haven't thrown in the towel yet. I pushed the panic alarm the other day. I am panicking about week 1. I'm not panicking about the prospect, just to draw a line. I still believe in Drake Maye. I like the pick. I wouldn't redo the pick. I am panicking a little bit about week 1. But I haven't bent the knee, thrown in the towel, because I still think it's close enough, save for the one day where Jacoby Brissett lit it up and Maye was like 3 for 11 or whatever. There hasn't been a bloodbath yet. It's been relatively close day in and day out. Jacoby Brissett might be a little ahead, but it's not like he's lighting it up. He's still Jacoby Brissett. His numbers today were like 7 for 12. So, like, I don't think that's that hard to beat out, but it's not like Drake Maye is having a great camp. And so that to me is the most concerning. It's the most concerning thing. What's the real difference at the end of the day with or without Matthew Judon? If Judon's not on the team, are they a 3-win team instead of a 5-win team? You know, to Arcan's point, the difference in this team, if Drake Maye can play week 1 versus Drake Maye is on the shelf all year, that to me is a massive difference. And so the thing that's most concerning to me, and you can vote in our big question of the day up now at Jones and Mego. You can dial us up 617-779-7937. I'm with Arcan on this. The May slow start. And I don't think, again, I'm not Ben Volen. I'm not Colin Cowherd as much as I want to be. I'm not Colin Cowherd saying that Joe Milton's going to start games this year, or Ben Volen saying, you know what, Joe Milton has actually outperformed Drake Maye to this point. I'm not doing that. But I am sitting here telling you it's a slow start for Drake Maye, and I thought he would be doing better than he is, and that's the most concerning thing for me because he's the franchise, FYI. This is your franchise. This is the whole team. This is it for the next 5 years, and longer than that if the guy hits. This is the franchise. This is the team. This is the guy. And so, yeah, I'm going to be hyper-focused on that.
I agree. I just can't get that worked. I can't get myself that worked up over a couple days in pads so far. It hasn't looked good from all reports, and I believe that. I also think that I had prepared myself a little bit for this to be the Drake Maye experience, that it wasn't going to be a smooth sailing training camp. I heard the morning show. I've heard a lot of people, I know on BST, everybody's been making the comparison between Drake Maye and Mac Jones and who Mac Jones was very early in training camp. And I think it's a totally fair comparison to make. I just don't think it's the right one because you kind of knew what you were signing on to with Drake Maye, that you were taking the risk of an extremely ugly training camp, that even if you start him early in the season, that it might be very ugly, that he's going to be a guy who maybe learns through experience. And learning through experience doesn't mean that you take the field and you immediately look like Justin Herbert. It means that you're going to have to go through a lot of mistakes in order to grow and correct them. And I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but I guess that's kind of what I was prepared for. I was more surprised by the minicamp reports that his footwork had been solved so quickly and he looked so much better than everyone expected, to the point where I was going back to all the draft media and going, was that just total draft bull crap? Like, was that just total crap that we bought into because people were sick of talking about Caleb Williams and Drake Maye for 2 years? And I think both sides are a little bit true, but it's going to be a lot of speed bumps for him.